Ben McKee and Patrick Brown of GoVols 24/7 here on campus with our No-Huddle following fall camp day number 12, a day in which Tennessee held its second scrimmage of camp, as we are now 16 days away from kickoff here in Neyland Stadium. I believe there's a talented quarterback that wore number 16 once upon a time, if I'm not mistaken. But speaking of quarterbacks, Nico Iamaleava not a participant in today's practice, dealing with a stomach bug. Unfortunate, but not a big deal, so no need to freak out. Stomach bug that everybody gets every now and then. I had it last week. My family had it last week, so it happens. But in the meantime, it was more of a thudded practice than a full-on tackle scrimmage.
Right.
It was. They got a lot of good out of it. Make no mistake about it. A lot of situational work in terms of operating before halftime, after halftime, sidelines, media timeouts, and things.
Stuff too.
Yeah. Well, that was my biggest takeaway in terms of what they were able to accomplish. Because aside from that, in terms of physicality, it was a glorified thudded practice like they do over here on the practice field.
Yeah, and Josh Heupel talked about it when he spoke to the media just a little while ago. Just the the balance that you have to strike at this time of year, because guys need work. You need to get some hitting in. You need to get some contact in for guys so that they are ready when it's the real thing. But you've also, as he put it, you got to get your team to the starting gate. So they were maybe cautious overall today. They maybe didn't hold as many guys out. So some guys that have maybe been limited in the past were able to go, but they were, it maybe wasn't, like you said, Ben, I think he's worded it really well. It wasn't like a full-on tackle football scrimmage. But still plenty of things that Tennessee can take from it as they sort of near the end of camp and then move into what's going to be sort of their simulated game week next week.
Yeah, Keenan Peely, Lance Hurd, Andre Carrick, some of those guys. Brew McCoy, not only did he run around and do some things in the scrimmage, but he was not in a red non-contact jersey as well. So several veterans that did not scrimmage in number one were able to do some things in scrimmage number two. Sounds like the play of the day. Speaking of the quarterback position, with Nico taken out or not being out there, Gaston Moore takes advantage of Nico being out and rips off a 60-yard bomb to Dante Thornton. Jordan Matthews had good coverage on it, but it was just more of good offense beating great defense. It was just a heck of a catch from Dante Thornton, from my understanding, and a heck of a throw from Gaston Moore as well. And Josh Heupel spoke afterwards about how Dante Thornton is having a really strong camp right now.
Yeah, Dante was a little bit limited early on, but he's been back over the last week or so. I don't think he went in the first scrimmage, so this was, we got add him to the list of guys that maybe needed to get some work today, and he was able to get some work, make a big play. That room is deep, it's competitive. Guys want to make plays, and if they don't make plays, if they're not out there, I thought you asked a good question about when guys do miss practice, are they itching to get back out there because there's some depth and competition on this team. Dante's a great example. You want to be the receiver that's making plays, that's out there looking good. Squirrel White was another guy that Heupel mentioned as well. But Dante's a guy I think is going to play for this team. We'll see if he starts. I think we'll see, but I think he's going to play, and he's a good story because his first season was really challenging. It would have been easy for him to maybe take the easy way out after last season, but he stuck around. He seems to have a renewed sense of life at Tennessee. He seems to be a lot more comfortable and confident, and the play he made today was another example of that.
Yeah, and Josh Heupel talked about how he's just more comfortable within the offense, understands what he's doing. So Dante Thornton seems to be in a great spot. You mentioned it. Josh Heupel was asked specifically about individual players that he would like to name that stood out to him today on offense. At receiver, you mentioned it, Dante Thornton and Squirrel White were the two receivers. At running back, Deshaun Bishop continues to receive a lot of praise. But Peyton Lewis, Josh Heupel mentioned him, and then he mentioned the entire tight end room. So the tight end room continues to be a real strength for this offense, it appears, and Deshaun Bishop seems to be in prime position, as we talked about the other day, to really be a vital part of the rotation.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing that Heupel said about Bishop today was that they have confidence in him, and he's starting to play better without the football. That's a big part of your job as a running back, and we know you got to keep the franchise quarterback upright. So, and they said they trust him in pass protection, which is a big deal for a freshman and a redshirt freshman in Bishop's case that hasn't played. Lewis is a guy that, listened to Darrell Sims yesterday, said looks like a grown man physically. So it may not have been a live full scrimmage, but to see him maybe take some strides from scrimmage 1 to scrimmage 2 is a good sign. In the tight end room, Heupel was asked if how that's going to shake out in terms of who starts. He said they're all three going to play, and I really think they will, because I don't think there's some interchangeability between Ethan Davis, Holden Stays, Miles Kitzelman, and they trust all those guys to be able to get the job done. That's a demanding position where it might be good to get a series out every now and then, so and get somebody in there and see what they can do. So that's an interesting group that's gotten them, I think, it's had a good camp so far, and we heard more good things about them today.
Yeah, lastly, technology continues to be a buzzword this camp because of all the new rule changes in college football, iPads and communication in the helmets with the headsets. That continues to be a work in progress, I guess you could say.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see at the first games, but maybe there might be a camera pan over where they have like a player showing the coach how to like set the iPad up to run a replay of a play or thing like that. Because some of these players are more familiar with sideline technology like that and from high school, but some of these coaches maybe a little bit more old school, particularly maybe on this defensive staff. Got some old school guys there, so they had a mock halftime is the way that Josh Heupel said it. They had. They built in some TV timeouts. I think they did that in the last scrimmage too, but that's something that I think a lot of coaches view as a potential asset because it's easier to show them what happened rather than you're trying to replicate it by drawing it on a whiteboard. So I think they're trying to make sure that they can adapt and are using it to the max so that it helps them during games when they need it. And I think the halftime is part of it too because I'm sure you can use it in there as well. And they're obviously still doing the in-helmet communication too with the one player on each side of the ball and that kind of thing too. So that was another chance to work some of those things, and they worked it in the last scrimmage, and they continue to work it in this one as well.
Absolutely. We've got plenty of coverage of Tennessee's second scrimmage of fall camp up at the site at GoVols247.com, and we'll continue to have plenty of coverage throughout the day and into the weekend. He's Patrick Brown. I've been McKee.